Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Dr. Recker. Eric is a dentist, husband, father, keynote speaker, elite success coach, author, pilot, mountain climber, and recovering triathlete. In his second half of life, he is committed to helping people shorten the distance to becoming their best version and learning to win the now. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Eric. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
All right, Eric, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share in their own words a little bit about their own journey. So, your bio basically gave us a very short summary of all the wonderful things that you have and are still doing. But we'd love for you to share in your own words a little bit about how you got from where you were to where you are today.
Yeah, so I really could give a short version of that and it would take about 4 hours, but I'll try to really crunch it down together and say that I was bullied on the playground when I was growing up. When I grew up in a small town in Iowa in the early 80s, and recess kickball was life. And I was told that I couldn't play because I wasn't good enough. And so unfortunately, that "you are not good enough" became a soundtrack for me. And I told myself on the sideline of that recess kickball field that I was going to be so good at everything I ever did that no one would ever not pick me. Well, fast forward into my professional career as a dentist, I truly believed that I wasn't good enough. So I overshot on everything, overcompensated on everything, always kept adding more and more and more because I was trying to prove to other people that I was good enough. That led to 3 significant rounds of burnout, including chest pain, heart palpitations, panic attacks, all of that, to the point that I got very close to selling my dental practice and walking away. When that all fell through, I needed to step back and decide what I really wanted to do with this life. And I knew that I had a powerful story. I'd been through a lot, and I wanted to be able to help other people on their journey. So what I do now is I have sold half of my dental practice to a partner. I see patients 3 days a week, and the other days I speak and coach and write books and do content and all of those kind of things, trying to help other people on their journey so that they don't have to go as far down the burnout trail as I went.
All right, that is awesome. What a wonderful story. So, Eric, you speak a lot about burnout and mindset and, just handling the different stresses of life. Can you share with our listeners on your journey, your own personal journey, when you got to that point when you realized that you needed to make a change? Maybe if you could share maybe 2 or 3 overarching themes that you believe have been the core values that have driven you to get to where you are today, and if other people were to embrace or embody those same core values, you believe they would achieve the same success?
Yeah, so first of all, where it all went wrong, each time that I went through that terrible season of burnout, I noticed the same equation. Now that I look back on it, kind of doing a forensic examination of it, I was overcommitted. I had too much on my plate, as a lot of us do. But even more importantly, I wasn't taking care of myself. I just kept going. I just kept adding more and more. And that's where the problem was. So one of the big core values that I have is taking care of myself. So we have to be a little bit selfish so that we can be selfless. If we don't have anything to give, we won't be able to give anything to our people. We won't be able to have an impact on those that we are around, and we will definitely get burned out. Another huge core value for me is relationships. I am a highly relational person, and it's extremely important to me that I have some good quality relationships in my life, and it's important for all of us. So I have a mentor that I meet with, I have a coach that I work with, and I have 4 people that I would consider 2 a.m. friends. people that I could call in the middle of the night if if my world fell apart. So relationships and self-care would be two of the big things that I think we really need to be careful and make sure we embrace those.
All right. Absolutely love those two themes that you've shared with us. No, I love the fact that one of your theme was relationships, and a big part of customer experience, as this podcast is focused on navigating the customer experience, is building strong relationships. All organizations aim to have customers for life, and a big part of that is building strong relationships with those customers, whether it be a B2B or a B2C. Since you have, you're pretty much managing two businesses, because you mentioned that you coach and you write books and you do speeches and stuff for organizations and people, and then you also have your practice where you're in office 3 days per week. What would you say are some of the success tools that have made both businesses thrive in a positive way? If you were to look at them and see, if there are any overlapping behaviors or competencies that help to strengthen the customer experience in both areas.
Yeah, so one thing that I teach my team is to be aware of the rest of the story. It's a huge thing for me. People are complicated. So in my dental practice, people will come in and we'll maybe see them for an hour of their life. And they might be grumpy when they come in. They might be scared. They might be, however they present themselves to us is just a snapshot of how their life is going. They may not be taking very good care of themselves. They may be in a bad place. They may have gotten a diagnosis. They may have a family member that's really struggling. They may have any number of things that's going on. They may be crazy burned out. And we get to see a little snapshot of them. So when somebody comes in, they don't seem like themselves, or if we've just met them and they're kind of off-putting to us at the beginning, just understand that we're seeing a snapshot of a bigger picture of someone's life. And so I think it's always important that we think about that. We don't always get the chance to know the whole person, but especially in someone that you've been in relationship with for a while, if they seem off, then there's something more going on and it might be worth exploring that.
So you're lying in the dentist chair, right? And what would you call the person that's serving the client? A dental assistant? Before the
Yes,
actual
dentist, and I have a dental assistant. Yes.
Okay, so a dental assistant, and the dental assistant picks up that the patient is agitated. Like, walk us through that. Like, what would you want he or she to do to kind of have the patient relax, maybe build some conversation? Do you just have casual talk? Do you pick a topic maybe about the weather? Do you think about something that's maybe current affairs like Donald Trump? Like, well,
Yeah. Oh, boy. I definitely stay away from politics.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Good
try
one.
to stay away from politics and hot button news things. That's for sure. People get pretty fired up about that. But yeah, exactly that scenario that you had. If someone the great thing about my practice is a lot of the patients that I see I've been seeing for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
And so when they come in, if something doesn't seem right, then we'll ask them, "Hey, is everything going okay? Going okay today?" "Well, I'm just really nervous about this procedure." "Okay, well, tell me more about that." And a lot of times, really, all someone needs to do is voice what they're feeling or talk about the procedure before we do it, and then it becomes a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, if they're still amped up, we say things like, "Hey, the good news is this is all the longer this procedure is going to be." So in less than a time that in half the time it takes to watch a movie, you're going to be on your way. So we try to break it into more manageable chunks if people are apprehensive. And sometimes we have to take a little break and just let everybody sit up and breathe, and then we get back into it. But we really try to meet the patient right where they are, and help them work through the situation, because it doesn't do any good if they're escalated and we're escalated. Then we're going to have a hard time getting through the procedure.
Agreed. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Eric, could you also share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or application that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
Yeah, so for me, I would just say that it's my own personal website. It's hugely important whenever I get asked, so hey, where do we find you? How can we get in touch with you? How can we learn more about you? I'm very proud of my website. I had a great web designer, but through there, everything flows to my social media, to my blog, to my books, to the different opportunities that I have, some free online resources. It's something that I'm very thankful that I spent some money on because it's the way that a lot of people end up finding me.
All right, perfect. And we will ask you the question for where our listeners can find you online, which I'm sure your website will be one of those resources later on in the episode. Now, could you also share with our listeners, Eric, maybe one or two books that have had a great impact on you? It could be a book that you read a very long time ago, or even one that you've read recently, but it has impacted you both professionally and even personally.
Yeah, so two of them definitely come to mind. One is going to be, and a lot of people have probably heard of this one, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Just an incredible resource. We are the product of our habits and our routines. It is worth taking time to get good habits and routines in our lives because everything else flows from those patterns that are in our life. So that's a huge one. Another one that many people probably have not heard of as much is called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. And that's by one of my favorite authors, Mark Batterson. And it describes what we do when adversity hits in our lives. Because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when things are going to happen to us and how do we react to those things.
All right, perfect. So we will have the link to those awesome books that you've shared in the show notes of this episode for our listeners to tap into. Now, Eric, can you also share with us what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you are really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
So I mentioned the whole not good enough and the paradigm that presented me with. So I used to do a lot of triathlon, mountain climbing, stuff like that. I went all the way through the Ironman distance. I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. All of that was pretty much done on a faulty operating system that I had in my mind that I wasn't good enough and I needed to prove myself to people. So it's really been about 7 years since I've done any kind of an endurance race or anything like that. I've climbed some smaller mountains and done some stuff like that, but there's an event that I'm going to be doing the second week of August, and it's going to be at Snow Basin Resort in Utah, and it's called 29029, which is the vertical height of Mount Everest above sea level. So the goal is in 36 hours, I have to hike 29,000 vertical feet.
Wow.
So yeah, that's usually the first word that people say. So what I will do is I'll hike up this mountain, and each time I go up, I will gain 2,300 feet. So I will hike the same mountain 13 times. So I will hike up the mountain and I will ride the gondola back down. And there's going to be 250 to 300 of us, I believe, that will be there doing this. And my goal for this is one, I wanted to train for an event again. I really wanted to be focused and intentional about how I trained for it. But the other thing that I want to do is I want to learn about mindset while I'm doing it. I want to learn what happens in my mind when I do a repetitive task for 36 hours. I want to learn where does my mind go on hikes number 7, 8, and 9 when I can't see the beginning of the hike and I can't see the end and I'm really in the grind, because I think a lot of this will translate into our lives and what we have going on personally. So I hope this will be something that I'll be able to give some talks and workshops about in the future. And so I just want to see at 47 years old, I just want to see what my body's got in it and what my abilities are.
That's amazing, Eric. Wow. I'm going to have to follow you. Are you going to be posting this on your social media?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is fantastic. I mean, I would definitely follow you from a personal in a personal capacity just to see, as you mentioned, how do you endure? What are your thoughts? Is it that you feel overcome? Does it impact you emotionally? Like there's so many questions running through my mind right now just listening to you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, there's one time I know as I'm hiking up that for that hole, I expect it to take about an hour and 15 minutes probably to hike each time. And at least one of those times, I'm just going to be completely quiet and I'm just going to observe the world around me. My son has made me a couple playlists. So one time when I hike, I'll listen to some music that he's selected for me. One of
Nice.
the times, I'm just going to pray for my family the entire time that I hike up.
Yeah.
So I have a few of those things, and then other than that, just going to see what happens. So I'm super excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's a time also for you to kind of be one with nature and God, because you don't have much distraction, and hopefully you have no injuries. I pray in the name of Jesus that you come out of this injury free. So you
Thank
could really like meditate, talk to God, as you mentioned, pray for your family, and that's something that we don't get to do every day. Have moments of silence because we're just always so busy doing busy work.
Oh, you are so correct. I think if people really want their life to change, start with 5 minutes of silence each day. Well, Eric, why only 5 minutes? Because it's not easy and we're not used to it. Start with 5 minutes of silence and breathing each day and see what that does for you.
Yeah,
It's so important. You know this.
yeah, amazing. All right, Eric, can you now tell our listeners where they can find you online? They've tapped into this episode, they're intrigued with what you're doing, both, in your professional capacity as an author, as a coach, as a speaker, as well as a dentist, and they would like to follow you online. Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so my website is home base for me. It's just ericrecker.com. There's links to coaching, speaking, links for both of my books on there, blog, lots of different things. And social media, however you feel about it, I'm trying to be part of the good part of social media. I want to post things that are very encouraging and uplifting. So if you follow me on there, I'm not gonna go negative. I'm gonna try to always be uplifting and positive. So I'm pretty easy to find on the social media platforms as well.
All right. Now, before we wrap our episodes up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? If for any reason you get derailed or you get off course, the quote kind of helps to get you back on track. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, so my quote is a Bible verse, and it is Proverbs 3, 5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will keep your path straight. God has been the constant for my journey all the way through. He's been there in the good times, the bad times, and the other times, and I'm trying my best to trust that he always knows what the next step is.
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Eric. Well, Eric, you have definitely practiced what you preach in this entire interaction that I've had with you. Thank you so very much for being a guest on our podcast. I believe that our listeners would have gained, when the episode is released, will gain a great amount of knowledge, expertise, advice, motivation. I got that from our conversation, and I can tell that you're not just speaking because it's something to do, but it's coming from your heart. And that touches people way more. I mean, people can tell if you're being authentic and genuine, if it's really coming from a place of authenticity. And I feel that in the conversation that I had with you today. So I just want to express my deepest gratitude to you. Wish you all the best on your hike. I'm going to be there following and cheering you on, and just want to say thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a great honor to have this conversation, and I wish you all the best going forward as well.
Thank you, Eric. So just want to remind our listeners, you can follow us on X at NavigatingCX, and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We are hosting our annual CX webinar, Mastering the Art of Service Excellence, Behavioral Tools and Competencies for CX Success. This webinar will be hosted on Tuesday, August 27, 2024, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The webinar will be for a duration of 2 hours. In this webinar, we will be covering understanding the customer mindset, effective communication, building trust, conflict resolution, and resilience in CX roles. This is a webinar geared towards anyone in the CX space, such as customer success managers, customer success executives, client relationship officers, customer service and customer care representatives, customer support agents, business development officers. Once you are in that customer-facing role, whether it be from a support role on the internal side or external roles serving your customers, this webinar is for you. Don't miss the opportunity to sign up. And as a bonus, we're offering group discounts for 5 or more persons. We look forward to having you join our webinar.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.